Hello friends. So today I will discuss my lecture 3 on machine learning. So in previous lecture we have discussed the linear regression method, logistic regression method, naive Bayes classifier and the k nearest neighbor classifier and also decision tree. So today we will discuss support vector machine, self organization map, artificial neural network and other machine learning algorithms. Just see here in support vector machine, we are talking about the vector. So basically, support vector machine, it is a supervised machine learning algorithm which is mainly used to classify data into different classes. So unlike most algorithms, SVM makes use of the hyperplane which acts like a decision boundary between the various classes. So in support vector machine, basically it tries to find out a hyperplane which acts as a decision boundary in between different classes. So most of the time we will talk about two different class of data. We want to classify those two classes of the data by using a decision boundary that is known as hyperplane over here. So the main advantage of SVM is that it can be used for both the classification and the regression problem. So both purpose it can be used. For example, suppose we have a farm and we have two different kinds of animals. One set of animals are rabbits and other set of animals are the set of wolves. We know that the wolves are much dangerous and they can attack on the rabbits. So we have to protect our rabbits from the wolves. So how we can do it? So we have to set up a fence so that the wolves cannot cross that fence to attack on the rabbits. So just see here, we first set of the animals are the rabbits and the second set of the animals are the wolves, and we just want to set up a fence. It means we just want to find out a decision boundary, that is the hyperplane. So if we do that, we try to draw a decision boundary between the rabbits and the wolves, or we can clearly build a fence along this line. This is exactly how the support vector machine works. So in this term, another term comes, that is the support vector. So what is support vector in SVM? Just see here, we have two set of data in this diagram, and we have drawn a decision boundary over here, a hyperplane over here. Now just see how we will draw a hyperplane. So we should draw a hyperplane in such a way that it should be much more farther from the nearest point from the both the classes. Just see here, it is the points which are the closest data points from the each class. So these close, if we draw a parallel line through these closed data points, just see here in the first set of data set, the closest point is that is circled by red circle over here. So we will draw a parallel line by touching this closest point. Similarly, on the right side also, we have also drawn a parallel line touching the closest point to this hyperplane. So these two lines, they are called the support vectors. So the idea of drawing the hyperplane, because we can draw a hyperplane in different ways, in different alignment. So the optimum hyperplane can be obtained by just getting the largest margin. Just see here in this diagram, margin is what? Margin is the distance between the hyperplane and the support vectors which are drawn along with the closest point of each data class. So the idea is this margin should be maximum as much as possible in order to draw a decision boundary or the hyperplane which should be optimal. Now just see here the further example. Now see, this is an example. Both are the same example, but in first case, just see here, we have drawn a hyperplane in such a way that we have very least margin over here. Just see here, the same problem is solved by the second approach. We have drawn a hyperplane with different alignment, and just see here the support vectors. Support vectors are what? The closest data point to the hyperplane, the parallel line which are drawn to the parallel to the hyperplane. Now just see here the same problem. Both are the same problem, but in the second case, the hyperplane which is drawn, which the optimal hyperplane, because the margin is much more greater than the previous one. So this is how we can obtain the optimal hyperplane, so that we can do a better classification for the different set of the classes. Now just see here. This may be another case of example over here. So just see here, we cannot draw a linear hyperplane for this kind of problem because the data distribution is random over here. Means they are mixed up. So here the case where the non-linear support vector machine concept comes. So how this concept used? So we can draw a non-linear kind of hyperplane that can be used to classify this mixed kind of data set. Now this is an example. Now we have a data set for the hard patient over here. So we have a data set of the hard patient also, and also for the healthy person also. So this last set of data set is, if it is provided to the SVM algorithm, now this SVM algorithm is able to classify both class of the data, means the data which has the heart disease, and the second kind of data which does not have any heart disease, so means healthy case. So basically it is able to classify into two different classes with the help of what? With the help of hyperplane, with the help of decision boundary as a hyperplane. Now see, this is what all about the support vector machine. The next machine learning algorithm is random forest. So just see, the word forest is very important here, because forest means what? Forest means the set of decision trees. So the decision tree based classification we have discussed in our previous lecture 2 on machine learning. So just see here, here we are applying the concept of random forest. So forest is what? Means we are constructing different decision trees over here. Instead of constructing a decision tree, a single decision tree, we construct a multiple decision tree. That is why it is called forest, and that creation is done randomly. That is why this concept is known as random forest. So this is a supervised classification and regression algorithm. As the name suggests, this algorithm randomly creates a forest with several decision trees. So this is built on the entire data set using all the predictor variables. Just see here, every problem which can be solved by the decision tree will have some predictor variables. Based on predictor variables, we are able to predict this can be taken as yes or not, in the form of yes or no, in the form of 0 and 1, in the form of true and false. So just see here, where the random forests are used to create the multiple decision trees, such that each decision tree is built on some part of the data set. So if we talk about decision tree, so it works on data set. So basically the decision tree is constructed by using all the predictor variables present in the data set. While in case of the random forest, some part of the predictor variables are being used to construct the individual decision trees. So obviously, similarly, we construct a set of certain number of decision trees, and finally the majority of the decision that is obtained by the majority of the decision trees among the forest, that is taken as the final decision, that is taken as a final answer. So the example here, suppose we want to buy a house, so we will consult few agents. So we just want to buy the house based on some parameters, based on some predictor variables. What are those predictor variables? Based on the price of the house. If the price of the house is as per our budget, so we will move to get the house, to buy the house. Otherwise, we will not move to buy the house. The second is the locality. If the locality is good, then we will ready to buy the house. Otherwise, not. If the number of the bedrooms, if it is as per our requirement, then it is okay. Otherwise, it is not okay. Now the parking space and the available facilities, other facilities like the playground, the swimming pool, and so many other parameters. So these parameters are known as the predictor variables, which are used to find the response variables over here. Just see here, this problem is solved by using decision tree. So just see here, the green rectangle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, there are 5 predictor variables are used here, and all of them are used in a single decision tree. If these parameters are as per our evaluated as per our requirement and it fulfills our requirement, then we will move ahead to buy the house. Otherwise we will not move to buy the house. So just see here, if first the price of the house is evaluated, if it is okay, then we'll move ahead. Then the locality is evaluated, then the number of bedrooms, then the parking space, then the facilities available, and so on. So, and whatever the decision this single decision tree will give, that decision will be taken by the buyer. Now, what happens in random forest? We create the set of, just we have created here the 3 sets of decision trees. Here we are not using all the parameters in a single tree, but some of the parameters, some of the predictor variables are being used in an individual decision trees here. Now, once we are, and there may be a case that a particular predictor variable may be repeated over here in multiple decision trees. So a particular predictor variable may be a common among all the decision tree or some of the decision trees. Now it says that each tree selects or votes the class, and the class receiving the most votes by a simple majority is termed as the predicted class, and that predicted class is being used to take the decision over here. So this is all about the random forest. And the next slide is why we use random forest. So even though decision trees are convenient and easily implemented, because of the simplicity of by just constructing a single decision tree, they lack accuracy. The decision trees work very effectively with the training data that was used to build them, but the problem with it is that they are not flexible when it comes to classifying the new sample. So which means that the accuracy during the testing phase is very low. Now this happens due to the process of called the overfitting. So why overfitting? Because if the noises are the present, or the some ready-made well-defined data set is present, so what will happen? The training will be done with higher efficiency, with the noisy data also, means it will learn some wrong data also. Based on some wrong data, it is giving good results. But what happens when the new data comes? So it is not able to give better prediction accuracy. So now this means that the disturbance in the training data set is recorded and learned as the concept by the model. So overfitting occurs when a model studies the training data to such an extent that it negatively influences the performance of the model on new data. But the problem here is that these concepts do not apply to the testing data and negatively impact the model's ability to classify the new data, hence reducing the accuracy on the testing data. This is where the random forest comes. So what happens in random forest? So instead of taking the whole data set at once, we take random data. So basically we are providing the randomization during the training. So training is not getting the biased number of inputs. So basically we are providing the random set of data sets, and so that is why the effect of the noise will be approximately nullify when we are using the different set of decision tree. So that is why we get the better accuracy in case of the random forest. Now just see here